Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 29th December 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Hardan, 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 Haribol, TRSV, Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been trying to discuss and analyze about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been discussing in my previous, present, and future videos. Kindly subscribe to my blog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my past, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. For the past few videos, we have been trying to analyze in detail a particular term that is used while analyzing the psyche and life of every human living entity, whether male or female, in this lifetime in this material world. This keeps occurring in every lifetime. This particular term is known as mind. Mind is made up of the subtle element of ether, but it is the main instrument that drives this human chariot called living entity in a lifetime in this material world. It is because of the vibrations, emanations, and transmissions from this mind that a particular living entity acts or reacts in a particular lifetime in this material world. Here I would hasten to add that every individual spirit soul enveloped in four layers of material body becomes a living entity, and when this living entity is born in human form, whether as a male or a female, he or she is equipped with this subtle instrument called mind. Every individual living entity has one mind. That particular living entity acts, thinks, and reacts according to his or her individual mind. In other words, there is no collective mind that influences every human living entity. Yes, it is quite possible that the vibrations from one mind reach those of the other, and they may be directly or indirectly connected to each other. But that does not mean that an individual mind will have the collective influence of all the minds while influencing a living entity. In other words, one particular living entity will act only according to the vibrations, emanations, and transmission of his or her particular mind, and those vibrations are selected by his or her brain according to his or her destiny, karma, birth, bringing up, surrounding, atmosphere, company, knowledge, experience, maturity, thoughts, views, opinions, preferences, whims, and fantasies. In other words, though every mind may be giving similar vibrations, the brains of each human living entity differ in the choice of such vibrations and in their process of extracting the juice from those vibrations and percolate them down a particular living entity so that that particular living entity acts or reacts in a particular manner. This is precisely the reason why there is so much variety and multifarious colors in the society at any given lifetime in this material world. There are infants, babies, children, adolescents, teenagers, adults, middle aged guys, old men, illiterate guys, literate guys, villagers, urban people, skilled laborer, unskilled laborer, educated person, uneducated person, and guys hailing from a different race, religion, caste, creed, color, and country. An American, a Chinese, a Japanese, an African, a European, an Indian, a Bangladeshi, a Pakistani, and so on differ from each other only because of the individual mind acting or reacting according to its own whims and fantasies. Here I would hasten that in this context, mind is actually that mass of tissue called brain, which is safely embedded into the cranium of the gross body of every human living entity, whether male or female. And that is precisely the reason for the variety in the society. No individual human living entity will act or react according to another in every context. Tastes, preferences, whims, and fantasies of each human living entity, whether male or female, keeps on differing. Now we will talk about this mind. As I mentioned before, every human living entity, whether male or female, has an individual mind. And in this society, the collective population of human living entities is divided broadly into three types. 75% of the human living entities in this society at any given lifetime belongs to those vegetative mundane human living entities who go about their life trance-like, thinking that they have only come here to vegetate and pass their time. These human living entities are not yet mature enough to realize that even they have been assigned a purpose in life, whether positive or negative. The rest 25% belongs to two categories. One is the 20% of human living entities who are attracted towards, who gravitate towards, and who worship the dark negative forces that have been existing in this material world for times immemorial. On the other hand, the cream de la cream of this society belongs to the remaining 5% who are ensconced at the top of this heap. Just like a mountain has a very short trip and a tip and it keeps broadening while coming down. Similarly, in this society, the 5% tip is very narrow and the others uh, contribute to the breadth of that collective portion of human living entities. First, there is that very small portion of 5% of living entities who are at the top of the heap. Then things start broadening downwards. The rest 20% belong to the middle level of that mountain or pyramid, and the base of mundane, transcendent, trance-like, vegetative human living entities form the base of that mountain or pyramid. The 5% at the top belongs to either positively inclined materialistic guys or positively inclined spiritual guys or a combination of both. However, they are part of the cream de la cream of the society, and as they have mentioned in some proverbs in English and Hindi, first, big surprises always come in small packages. That is, this selective 5% is of a very small population in the society. It comprises of or consists of the selected few who had once gone through the grind as the mundane persons of the society, but who developed or evolved gradually to reach this 5%. We have discussed several case histories of monks, saints, rishis, maharishis, evangelists, thinkers, philosophers, scientists, discoverers, tycoons, magnates, achievers, and inventors to discuss the case history of those who belong to this 5%. However, of late, we have condescended to talk about the case history pertaining to those who worship the dark negative forces of the society and who belong to this 20% category of human living entities, both male and female. In that process, we have talked about several gangsters from the underworld of the mafia of New York in United States and Newark in United States. Plus, we have also talked about dictators like Hitler and Stalin. Today, we shall talk about one very interesting case history of one individual who is called Genghis Khan, the Scrooge of this world. Here we would like to analyze the mind of this human living entity known as Genghis Khan. While talking about his mind, we will try to become Genghis Khan to find out how his mind thought, reacted, and emanated or transmitted messages or vibrations to the brain of this man so that he acted according to how he acted or reacted during his own lifetime. First, This guy was born in a place called Mongolia, which is known for its extremely cold temperature. As they say, coming events cast their shadows before. This particular guy called Genghis Khan was born as Timujin in a household of a local chieftain of Mongolia. This shaped his life and career immediately. He was born into the household of a local warlord who was always fighting with other clans, tribes, and gangs. Temujin was probably the third among his siblings. Now, as I mentioned before, they were all born in Mongolia, which is known for its extremely harsh winters and weather and temperature. This probably hardened every individual in this clan to such an extent that these people began lacking any sort of empathy or sympathy. Timujin, or Genghis Khan as he was later called, was no exception to this rule. This shows that his mind began operating according to his lack of remorse and sympathy right from the time when he was born. In his case, harsher things were to follow in his childhood. His father, who was the chief of that tribe and was a warlord at that, died very early when Temujin was just a child. Temujin not only suffered from hunger and deprivation himself, but his whole family went through this very harsh grind, and Temujin was witness to it. He was put through a lot of physical and mental agony, and he was surprised and dismayed to find that those who were considered to be blind followers of his father when that man was alive abandoned this family royally and moved on without having any sort of empathy or sympathy for his family. This hardened the psyche and the mind of Temujin even further. He learned at a very early age that survival is only for the fittest and that nobody will come to your rescue when you are left high and dry by this destiny. He and his family eked out a living during Temujin's younger days. Some of his own associates and friends had to go through Several fights, tortures, imprisonments, agony, physical and mental, or both, and Temujin was either a witness to them or he learnt about them from other associates. This toughened this young man even further. However, Temujin had the sense to think that he can contribute to the welfare of his own society. Just because of his past, he managed to become a leader of his own tribe and he managed to come out a victor during various battles and skirmishes with other tribes. So much so that many of the other tribes chose him as their own leader, and thus this man began collecting a very formidable army of like minded youth and soldiers. Everyone was a fighter. Temujin wanted to conquer more territories, but even at that time, he sincerely believed initially that he can coordinate with other kings and chieftains to come out with something positive which would be mutually beneficial to his, him, his tribes, his people, and the other chieftains and kings. In that process, he selected his own cousin as an emissary or messenger and sent him to one king of Iran, which was called Persia at that time, called Sarfaraz. But here Temujin was in for a shock. The king of Persia, called Sarfaraz, did not look eye to eye with Temujin and his clan. He had other nefarious plans. Not only did he reject Temujin's offer of peace and olive branch, but he also condescended to kill that cousin who had just gone there as an emissary of Temujin. This hurt Temujin to the quick. He had already been toughened up by circumstances in his younger days. The mind that this living entity called Temujin began vibrating in one particular, very sadistic, vindictive, and cruel angle or vibration. He was very much angry when this Sarfaraz reacted in this careless fashion. Temujin, who had by now become hailed as Genghis Khan, decided there and then that might is always right. He decided to teach every detractor who came his way a lesson that guy will remember him by. This started his crusade against every other person who wanted to fight with him or his tribe. This is all I wish to talk in this particular video. We shall continue our talk on this matter in my next video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk about this subject. Please give me your own expert views, opinions, thoughts, and ideas so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and a paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV